Welcome, everybody, to Flat Earth Nation. It is a Flat Earth Nation. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. I think it was just last night I had a very interesting title, like I see the future returning like an echo or something like that. And I said, whoa, I think a poem's coming on. So I decided I was going to write some poems, and I did, but they were haikus, and I didn't. I tried to work in that echo theme, and I was going to read these earlier, but we're going to get right to April and the hacking the headlines video. These won't take long. First haiku: argue with echo, you forego fascination. See with ear to hear. No hope is in vain. That's your second haiku. Start right there when that no is a K-N-O-W. No hope is in vain, save for Christ who took the pain. Lame what would call gain. Wow. And so those were my haikus, and I really like them. And I really like this girl, April. Hey, hola, Ella. Let me put a link in there if you want to come in. I just am mirroring this, and I did a video, just finished a video where I talked about Psalm 82 and got off track and I wanted to fill out my 2 hours. So I used one of your videos on that mercury vapor turbine and this and that, and closed out. And so you were on my mind when we were talking about that mercury vapor. That's some weird stuff. So watch this if you want to come on. If you have time, we'll talk after you see this video. Now I want you to. April has got 170,000 subscribers, and I kind of look at April as not like Daphne from the Scooby-Doo gang, the brains of the outfit, but more like, not that she's not the brains, but she's more like the April that was in the Turtles, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There was a reporter, April, and she's kind of clued in to the she knows more than most, and that's what I kind of picture as April. And I saw that Jamie from A Plain Truth, now he's on A Plain Truth 13. So, he's mirroring her, and he doesn't love the Lord at all, but he's still mirroring her videos because she has her pulse on what's going on. So, join when you're ready, Ella. I'm going to run this video and we'll get your opinion on it as soon as it's finished. I say I might be lagging a little. She's got a little exemption cards.
Welcome back to Hacking the Headlines. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the dark winter that has been prophesied by many different people, many different times, and it is making headlines again. So some of you might remember that last year, Joe Biden, during the presidential debates, warned America about the very dark winter. And it is no coincidence that Biden and others have chosen to use the terminology of a dark winter, because that is a reveal of their hand, a reveal of the truth in plain sight, because of the Operation Dark Winter that took place back in 2001 that pretty much outlined everything we are seeing today. And what hasn't taken place yet is likely to happen in the near future. So we will be going over those very important important documents in this video because this theme of a dark winter is resurfacing. It was just a couple of days ago when Dr. Faucistein was on a podcast, and he said that the US may face a dark winter, but it can be avoided if enough Americans get the secret sauce. So again, just a nod to their plans and their little Easter eggs they put out there for us, hiding the truth in plain sight. There's also been a number of news articles referring to the dark winter ahead. So let's take a look at what this dark winter might look like. So it was back in June of 2001, a full 20 years ago, that this dark winter exercise took place. And in these documents, you will find pretty much an outline, a plan of what they had in store for us that we are seeing unfold today. And if you look at the bottom of the documentation, it says who is responsible for this exercise, and it was none other than Johns Hopkins Center for Civilian Biodefense. And if you are familiar with Event 201, something very similar that took place just a month before all of this started to happen, that was also put in place or funded by Johns Hopkins. And Operation Dark Winter was the code name given to this exercise, which was a simulation that was going to simulate what a bioterror attack would look like on the United States. And in this exercise, it was a smallpox contagion that was released. But they go through things like the political climate of the world at the time, how they would react to such a thing, what they would force onto people, where they would force people to go, and how the population would react to such an event. And pretty much lockstep with everything outlined in this exercise is what we see happening today. And if it's not happening yet, then you can kind of see where they are taking this thing with what they outlined in this documentation. Now, taking a look at the introduction to this dark winter exercise, I found it interesting that one of the very first things it mentions is the rising tensions between Taiwan and China. Now, I understand this has been somewhat of an ongoing thing, but just within the last few days, headlines have been everywhere talking about these rising tensions and how imminent war might be on the horizon. Now, in the Dark Winter exercise, it talks about how China is testing medium-range missiles within Taiwan's airspace, and that's kind of beating the drums of war between the two nations. And something very similar, not exactly the same, but something very similar is taking place right now as we speak between China and Taiwan. So kind of interesting, thought I would point that out. Now, of course, through this Operation Dark Winter, they talk a lot about the secret sauce for the smallpox outbreak and how they need to inject as many people as possible. And they discuss whether it should be mandatory versus voluntary. And it also outlines in this Dark Winter exercise how the judicial decisions that indicate forcible inoculation and quarantine of infected patients might be constitutional after all. And where have we heard this before? You guys might be familiar with one of the interviews with Alan Dershowitz, who talked about this exact thing, and he is a constitutional lawyer of all things. The irony. And he has been touted as being such a wonderful protector of individual liberties and rights, being a constitutional lawyer. But here he can be heard saying that we don't have a right not to get the secret sauce, and that if needed, doctors can come and hold us down and plunge a needle into our arms.
Let me put it very clearly. You have no constitutional right to endanger the public and spread the disease, even if you disagree. You have no right not to be vaccinated. You have no right not to wear a mask. You have no right to open up your business.
Wait, can I stop you?
Yeah.
No right not to be vaccinated, meaning if they decide you have to be vaccinated, we have to be vaccinated?
Absolutely. And if you refuse to be vaccinated, the state has the power to literally take you to a doctor's office and plunge a needle into your arm. If the vaccine.
So this guy, Alan Dershowitz, He's famous for the same reason that you know the Kardashian daughters. The media circus of the 1990s, OJ's defense lawyers, or something like that.
Where is that in the Constitution?
So in Operation Dark Winter, they talk about how it will somehow be constitutional, even though they don't explain how, to forcibly inject people with the secret sauce. And then we have Alan Dershowitz, one of the nation's leading constitutional lawyers, outright saying the same exact thing in that interview. So what a coincidence, right? And now something else it talks about Operation Dark Winter is how the outbreak national, such as the freedom of assembly and the freedom to travel as we want. And they also talk about staff shortages and the reluctance of drivers and other personnel to do their jobs. And that is exactly what we see taking place today. Headline after headline is talking about tomorrow's new normal, which will be worker, food, and other shortages of goods and needs and services. And this is not something that is just, in the headlines. You can probably see it for yourselves when you go out to your local store. Scenes like these are becoming more and more commonplace. Empty shelves, you go look for something, they don't have it, and it seems to be getting worse and worse. But unlike in Operation Dark Winter, where a very real and very deadly contagion is spreading according to the simulation, and that is what is causing the shortages. The shortages we are seeing today are a manufactured crisis. They are doing this on purpose. Now here you can see this is a satellite image off of Long Beach showing all of the idle cargo ships that are just waiting to be unloaded. And this is around every single dock all across the nation and even in many parts of the world. They could easily have people like the National Guard come in. If they were truly experiencing a shortage of staff to unload these cargo ships, they would simply bring in the National Guard so that they could make sure the supply chain keeps functioning as needed. But that's not what they're doing, because this is part of the plan. This is part of the collapse that they so desperately need in order to build up their new system. And now, speaking of the National Guard, if you watched my video from a couple days ago, then you know that this is also starting to happen. The National Guard is starting to be deployed in many cities across the country, but it's not to unload cargo ships, it's to make their presence in our local hospitals. Again, this is part of the plan, as is outlined in Operation Dark Winter, where because of the shortages of, delivering food and of critical supplies, they bring in the National Guard according to Dark Winter, and they start helping to alleviate these problems. But for some reason, they're just not sending them to the cargo ships where they would be desperately needed. Instead, they are starting.
So we'll take a break right there. I'm pretty sure I heard Ella pop in. Ella, thank you for joining me. What do you think so far?
Yeah, it's all happening. Hello, everyone. Yeah, this is all planned. I've been trying to warn people for over a decade. We've known. And the stuff that's going on here in Australia at the moment is just full on. They're out fully in the open now. And, they're saying in the news, oh, you won't need the Jabiru passport from December. Now, what happens from December is the quarantine facilities are pretty much going to be built by then.
Oh my goodness! Now hold that thought, Ella. We're going to leave you in the audience hearing. She just talked about quarantine centers. We're going to finish off the rest of April's video. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to play that same April's video without sound and invite you, Ella, I'm going to turn her video off, and you can comment on some of the things that you see in the headline, compare it to what is on the ground in Australia right now among content providers, and remember, I have 2 strikes, so
Yeah,
whatever
I
we can do to
understand
be
that.
careful
Yeah,
and
we're
use
not telling
the
you what to do, and we don't deny that this thing's out there, and we're not in denial that it's out there. We're not telling you what to do. We're not medical professionals. It's just what we see. This is just, our, expression, freedom of expression. So play on, Ellen.
Yeah, right. Everybody here agrees with what you just saw Rob say on the screen, you know. So we're going to wait and hear what Ella has to say about it. And she's Ella. She's the girl striving to live up to that high level. And that is crazy, right, Ella? I mean, men got all this warrior stuff in the Bible and then don't fight, and you guys have Proverbs 31. And I mean, really, who can do that? Where's all those women today, right? Spinning
Yeah,
that living and
correct.
buying that land. And it's like, just do your best, women. You're never going to be able to do all that at one time, I don't think.
Yeah, that's true. That is so true.
Good
But
luck. So let's hear April finish off this video, and then we'll get Ella's comments in just 4 more minutes.
yeah, mate. Yep, thanks.
To fill our hospitals doing tasks that they're not even qualified for, because again, this is part of the plan to bring the military, to bring in a military presence into our everyday lives, and to normalize this so that when we go to the grocery store, when we drop off our kids at school, when we go into the workplace, it starts to become more and more normal to see a military presence there. And they have to manufacture these shortages to have an excuse to bring in the military into our everyday lives. Which brings me to the next point of Operation Dark Winter, because after everything is said and done, what do they end up doing during the simulation? Well, of course, they end up declaring martial law. And it says that martial law depends for its justification upon public necessity, right? So the need for martial law is the reason why they instate it, but it's all about problem, reaction, solution. They cause the problem. We give them the reaction, which in this case is, oh my goodness, we need people in here. We're having all these shortages. Let's bring in the National Guard. And then they come in with their pre-planned solution. Like, yeah, of course, let's just declare martial law. It's a public necessity at this point. So it says options for martial rule include, but are not limited to, prohibition of free assembly, national travel bans, quarantine of certain areas, the suspension of due process. So you will no longer have due process. They can just come and arrest you for anything, anytime, and you will not have the right to due process. And military trials in the event that the court system becomes dysfunctional. We are also seeing that taking place where the court system is backed up. They're letting criminals out early for very severe crimes in order to make more room in the prisons. I wonder who they're going to send next to fill up those spots. But again, this is all part of the plan. It also talks about in Operation Dark Winter how people will start being arrested for nothing and under false pretenses, and they will be put into quarantine camps and held against their will. And this will be part of the whole outbreak process. So yeah, that could very well be happening in the near future. I don't know, but it's certainly a possibility and something that they have outlined very clearly in Operation Dark Winter, and also things like Lockstep by the Rockefeller Foundation, which is very similar to this, and also Event 201, which I think most of us know about. And it wouldn't be a simulation, a Dark Winter simulation, without them outlining the dangers of misinformation in the media. So this is part of the situation briefing where it says that dangerous misinformation is going around and that there are reports of good secret sauces and then there's bad secret sauces, and that only the good secret sauce is being given to the elite and the rest of the people are getting the bad batches, and that people are advising to flee from the cities and go to remote areas, and that people are spreading misinformation in terms of cures for the outbreak on the internet, and that certain ethnic groups are being made victims of hate speech, and that people are claiming that in poor neighborhoods, they are being unfairly affected and unfairly denied medical access, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, warning everybody against people, those evil people who spread misinformation. And if you don't get on the program, then, they might just send you to a camp, according to Operation Dark Winter and others like it. So there you go, you guys. I just wanted to cover all of that. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Wasn't that fun, Ella?
Yeah, I'm aware of all of this. Yeah, it's good people are starting to see. I'm starting to see a lot of people 12 months ago that would have called us total nutters, but people are starting to actually see now. But sadly, it's too late to do anything.
Everybody, this is not Sarah from Hacking the Headlines. This is Ella from Earth's History Was Confusing. They're both female content providers, but I don't want anybody to be confused and think that, but you're commenting as a woman right now, because I never heard of Operation Dark Winter.
Yeah, I have. And also that was in early 2000s, and then there's Jade Helm with Obama. There were several of them. We also had them in Australia.
I want to give everybody a reminder, background, that as far as all of this truther and everything else goes, and even as, a called teacher from God, I'm late to the party on the whole truther movement. It wasn't until 2012 in the second September 11 attack, and that the Benghazi embassy where they killed and raped the head of the CIA there, and they faked all that. That was my wake call, because that's when my son was in Afghanistan. I didn't even believe in 9/11 until this.
Do you know what it was?
I didn't even have. Go ahead. Yeah, I didn't even have my second vision until 2 years later. So I've only been doing this whole truther, and now I've got some new ideas. 8 years. That's all.
Do you know what it was for me? It was when I was a child, and the nuclear reactor in Pripyat exploded. And see, to me as a child, when I saw that just didn't look right. Do you know what I mean? And the US government had been hearing a sound coming from that area for a long time, and they called it the woodpecker, and they knew it was coming from that area. It was the tension of the Cold War. And all of a sudden this accident happens, and now they have to get out of their base. It made them get out of their bunker. But that, and also early mid-90s in Australia, we had a lot of our laws changed. We had a prime minister sacked in the 70s, and each sort of 5 years, I've noticed there's big changes in the whole operation running, because the government runs as a corporation and has 5, 10, 20-year plans. But when Port Arthur happened, and they tried saying it was a mental deranged man that was able to kill so many people, and that people in the military have said that they would need to have been trained sharpshooters to do what happened. That was it for me. And ever since then,
what happened? I don't know. Refresh my memory on that. That sounds.
They used a young man that had known schizophrenia, or back then it was bipolar manic depression, they called it, and he was being treated by psychologists, and it's always the same sort of psychologists that have a thing in it, like in America, the psychologist of those kids, they all know each other, they all run the same sort of incident. But this Martin Bryant, he had the IQ of a child. There was no way he could have done what he did. Apparently shot his parents, apparently he raped someone or something like that, and then he went and killed so many people. But funny enough, the AR-15 rifle that he was using was stolen from the Victoria Police Department 15 months beforehand, and was reported stolen. Not many people know about that, but yeah, it was reported stolen from the Victoria Police Department 15 months beforehand. But Martin Bryan, he never had a trial or anything like that. They kept him awake and never let him sleep and drugged him and made him sign a confession and kept him out of trial, everything. And basically it was trial by media. So then they changed the media laws here. You can't report on a case if there's an open case now. The media cannot report on it because the trial by media here is so sensationalism. The High Court judges said, no, just don't talk about any of that stuff. So he's been seen out in the street. He gets to go out on day leave with people. So it's just no way possible.
Unprecedented in the United States that John Hinckley just got paroled. He tried to allegedly kill the president. Now, and he's
I
been
know
that type of arrest that your guys you're describing. So this man will probably be paroled someday too.
Well, this bloke's seen under the Mental Health Act. He'll never be released, ever. He's held in a mental institution. But, isn't it funny, just sort of overnight all the gun laws were rushed through, and Johnny Howard said the exact same thing a famous Nazi general said. He said that he doesn't believe the population should have guns or ammunition, that anyone that wants to have that should be part of the government army, and if they want to have them, they'll have to join the police or the army. Said no citizen should have guns. So
man,
that goes.
I know people could kill you 4 different ways with a pickle fork, or even a credit card. If you practice enough, you can do your jugular vein, your both carotid arteries.
We've had
you can't ban weapons because I'll kill you with a comb.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Some of the things that go on with but I've seen people make guns out of lounge chair parts and just things out of your house. It's not hard to make them, and now there's more guns in Australia. They had 53 million guns in 1993. They had a huge problem, but they only got 700,000 out of the gun buyback, and since then we've actually imported and made more guns than that because Australia makes guns and gives them to Saudi Arabia and Israel. We make guns here and just sell them, and now the NRA is funding all these political parties trying to get the laws changed. So it's just a circus, mate. It's all theatre. Everything's planned. Like with the UK, with the no fuel, there was only one company that had no fuel, and that was their own doing. It had to do with pipelines and everything else. One company, it didn't affect all the companies, but everyone ran out and panic bought like they did with toilet paper. They didn't need to. It was all media. So the media basically caused all of this. There was no need for it. And as for the shortage, well, the driver shortages is a lot of people have dropped and don't exist anymore. That's the problem. People don't realize there's a lot of people can't work now because they've been injured. I'm not going to say it, but they have severe health effects now and they can't drive a truck.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of industry. Our industry has been working at 30% capacity for the last 2 years. And yeah, we had foods stored up. Now, government storages are only 2 to 3 years. That's 5 years maximum is all the government backs up and stores for food and all that medicine.
Well,
so we're really
put the rest of this into the context, Ella, of yesterday, China gave the world good news. Well, kind of good news. They're not going to attack anybody, they said, for at least 3 years.
Well, it's all planned, mate, because you look at Hong Kong, what happened with Hong Kong after the 99-year lease. They were supposed to sign an agreement and do this and like with what Thatcher arranged, but it never happened. But they never went to war there, did they? It was just sort of handed over. And like I said the other day, I questioned it about Australia because some say the Chinese were actually here before the Europeans, and that would not surprise me. Do you know what I mean? History has been so diluted and changed. You know, we don't know our real history. We don't know. The Aboriginals
Well,
say they were here.
we're going to come back to this video. Keep going, Ella. I want to look up something and show you something from earlier I did, but I don't want to share the screen. Hey, Joel, you want to come on and join Ella?
Do you know there's a global leaders conference, the elite, on the 23rd of October at the Vatican? It's technology that empowers humanity is the topic, and the code is programming our future for good.
No.
Huh.
What? Go with it. What is it?
It's just a global elite conference. It's at the Vatican, so it's on the 23rd of October. I think November we're going to see shit hit the fan. Can you share the screen for a minute, or?
Yeah, just 1 second. I'm real close to finding something, and then I'll share it.
Yeah, okay, but I feel once our camps are finished here in Australia, they will start to round the belligerent and you know, non-conforming ones. That's why they won't need a Jabiru passport, because they'll just be all rounded up. I think that's what's going to happen. I just feel it. You know, they don't care. We have no rights. People go on about rights. We don't have rights. Look what they did to people, you know, in the 60s, 70s, even in World War I and II. They don't care. Oh, you're lagging, Alan.
Like you're probably tell by how slow it's going on my search.
Sorry, Alan, you're lagging there. I didn't hear. Can you say that again, please?
I just have to wait until the internet catches up. I could see that I was lagging. Hey, Joel, I'm lagging a little bit, man. So hopefully I can catch up. But I just wanted before I let Ella continue and Joel to add some commentary.
Hi, Joel.
Hey. I can't hear you, Alan. It's kind of
And let me.
Can you?
Oh, I wanted to tell you before you continue about this girl, Kimpa Vita. And, supposedly she was born and came to power right about 1706. She was considered the Joan of Arc of the Congo. But the most, what I think is the most important thing is that when she did come to power, regardless, it is one of the most documented periods in the Congo's history. She destroyed the idols. She fought the Roman Catholics. And now here's what I found interesting. In the San Salvador, she took her and her followers and occupied and built in a special residence for herself in a ruined cathedral and called the formerly ruined and abandoned capital to be reoccupied by thousands of mostly peasant followers. So, in the recent history, we keep just stumbling upon more and more things that it was like, hey, they came out, some people came out from another reset. This would have been the reset of the reaping. So as we keep that in context, and as I've been thinking that we're seeing an echo repeating, we're having that as the nations are being gathered. This short season is just a re-encapsulation of the whole Bible at 5 times the speed. and we're entering into their well-laid plan of a dark winter. And unfortunately, the Lord said, "Don't pray that if you flee, you don't have to do it in the winter." Now, Ella, if you want to share the screen, you have to send me a link or send the link in the private comments. Remember that?
Yeah, doing that now.
This is great because I already had a show tonight, and now we get to do another one. Okay, you got it. Full screen.
Got
You're
it?
sharing.
Okay, this is what the elite have planned. 23rd. So this is what I was talking about. It's invitation only. Technology that empowers humanity. The code. Keynote presentation is programming our future for good. It's about the Internet of Things and body and all that kind of stuff. This is an outline as to what they're doing. I'm not going to say it, but yeah, it's these were spotted in the road in I think it was
Wow, that's
Adelaide.
a pretty armored Red Cross vehicle. That
Yeah.
could get through some mud.
Yeah, people say, oh, they're just made there, but yeah, I'm not sure about this one. But this one here is a petition that I'd found. Basically, it's we are opposed to the Amendment Enhanced Risk Management Bill 2021, specifically in relation to broadening the scope of the current Act 2015 to include enforcement orders upon classes of individuals, specifically requiring them to wear specified clothing or equipment, to be relocated and detained for indefinite time, and to provide body samples to. While we understand that these changes are meant to be imposed upon groups arriving into the country by plane or vessel, it does not expressly exclude the possibility of it also being applied to other classes of people, such as the or to certain ethnic, religious, or political social groups residing within Australia. So if people can't see that, that's scary. That's really scary. And then the other one was there was a woman was sharing pictures of herself and her daughter, and they were dressed up as a Jude thing. And just look at this. This one is horrible. This is a medical clinic, so Sydney, Australia. This is the doctors, so they have to go outside. That's what it's become. So this woman here, she's in a lot of trouble for doing what she's done. So she can be seen wearing the star there. But, I just shared a post showing what, they said specified clothing or certain religious, ethnic groups or political, social groups. But then we had people come out and compare it to that. So, yeah. So,
Hey, Elvis, just keep going. I'm talking to Luther the Truther.
okay, no worries. But, so yeah, once that other post started getting shared about the petition that was going on, we had all these Holocaust survivors coming out and criticizing her and saying how wrong she is for doing it. She then had to shut her social media down. She was relentlessly bullied by tens of thousands of people that were threatening her, all kinds of stuff. So it's just horrible that this is happening and people get gaslighted. So she put in, things out of the dictionary. And this is, she did this because she saw that other post about the petition that was going on. And that's the criticism she copped from it. And of course, now they've brought in a bill to basically, with social media, to stop bullying. If anyone bullies anyone, they can order the post to be removed and things like that. So this is on the beach in Victoria, I think it was. And what happened is she just got a magnet and held the magnet over the ground, and watch what happens. And this is everywhere. Everywhere we go, we see this stuff. And you can see it's got like a little spiky thing on it. It looks like a hedgehog, doesn't it? And it just grows bigger and bigger. It grows as she's holding it. It just keeps sort of replicating, and then it jumps onto her finger and thumb, and it tries to keep growing in her, like it expands. It keeps reacting with itself. It just sitting there like that. You can see it's growing. She runs it over the ground again, and it gets a lot bigger. This is just in the environment. You go to the beach and you run a magnet over, and you can see all the little pieces are jumping to the magnet. It's unreal. Look at that. Look at that. See it on her finger? She freaked out. I would too. I'd be wearing gloves. I wouldn't be picking it up like that. See how it's all jumped onto the finger?
So what's the thought then that was coming off of people in some way?
It's graphene. That's what it is. It's they think it's been sprayed from the air.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, that's what it's definitely graphene because it's reacting with the magnet. But yeah, it's pretty freaky. Look at that. And it just keeps growing and growing. Like the magnet, it like you can see the pieces are all jumping to it as it's just sitting there. It just gets bigger. And it's all over Australia, everywhere you go. It's everywhere. See how it's just getting bigger? And look now. You're welcome, Alan. And you can see it's like growing onto the bottom of it. Look at that.
Wow, yeah,
unreal.
because it's like it pulls it in and just
Yeah.
keeps more and
Yeah.
more as it gets bigger.
Yep.
It's like a giant blob that just grows.
Yep. And it's just attracting all the other particles. See? Look how big it got. Covered the whole thing within a few seconds. You know, she can't even pick it up. And these bits over here, as she moves it, they're all getting excited and start moving towards it. You watch. See how big it got? You can see all the pieces jumping on it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's unreal, isn't it?
Can you post that? I need to see this again.
Yeah. It's on my Twitter.
Oh, I don't have Twitter. Okay.
I'll screen record it for you and I'll post it on my community tab.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty unreal, isn't it?
That's
It
crazy.
just grows. A couple of seconds, it just goes from, you know, a couple of bits at the top of it, and then the whole magnet's covered. See, look, not even 10 seconds, it's fully covered. I wouldn't want to touch it, that's for sure.
Yeah, it looks like a little werewolf at this point.
It's still growing, you know?
What do you think Bobby means? Does he think that the wandering stars can be gathering trails right now? Is that what's he, or is I just reading into what?
I think he's talking about chemical trails.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how's this one? This is the human DNA cross-section, right? And that's the Aztec sunstone. How cool is that?
Wow.
That is cool.
Yeah, that's the most accurate clock.
We're losing it.
Yeah, your robot voice, and it sounds like you're going to say that's the most accurate clock.
Yeah. Can you restart your computer, please, Alan? It's really bad robot sound lagging. I think we've lost him, Joel.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so we've got some pretty crazy stuff going on. And it'll never go back to normal. I'm sorry to say. It'll never happen. But I think by December is when it's really, I think they're going to kick up with Taiwan, and they'll, you know, it'll be like in the 1984 thing. So, but yeah, if people can't see what this is and understand what's coming, that's really sad. And
What is that? The petition.
yeah, it's a petition because it's opposed to the Biosecurity Amendment, Enhanced Risk Management, specifically in relation to broadening the scope of the current Biosecurity Act 2015 to include biosecurity enforcement orders upon classes of individuals, specifically requiring them to wear specified clothing or equipment. So that could be a tracker, like a GPS tag, to be located and detained for indefinite time, and to provide body samples to the World Health Organization. While we understand that these changes are meant to be imposed upon groups arriving into the country by plane or vessel, it does not expressly exclude the possibility of it also being applied to other classes of people, such as the unjabbed or certain ethnic, religious, or political social groups residing within Australia. So this closes on the 27th of October. So yeah, I don't know. It's scary.
I'm so sorry about that. So sorry about that. Thank you guys for keeping going.
Oh, I stopped screen. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Sorry, I closed that screen
Go
off.
ahead
So
and put that share back in there. I apologize for that.
yeah.
You
So
guys are the best.
you're welcome. But that's what's happening in Australia. Oh, can I just share one other thing quickly, please?
Yeah, you need to put another request in
Okay. Yeah.
since I had to
Sorry. Yeah. I just got so many tabs open. I have to find them. That one there. All right.
You got the full screen.
Okay. This is Howard Springs quarantine facility in Darwin, Northern Territory. And remember what we were talking about the other day, Alan, who owns the Port of Darwin?
China.
Remember? Exactly. So it's going on. Attracting and maintaining staff in remote locations can be difficult. Long hours away from loved ones, lack of facilities, and little to do when the sun goes down makes the fly-in, fly-out lifestyle of many mining and resource industry workers unattractive. So they built it as a mining camp, okay? And now what it's been turned into, it's no longer a mining camp. It has now become what they want to do for quarantining.
Oh man.
So all of these facilities they're building here in Brisbane, Victoria, and all over the place are going to be on that one.
You know, are they doing this in the United States, Joel?
What do you mean?
Building these quarantine places.
Why would you?
I mean, I haven't heard about them. What's going on, man?
They already have them built there, Alan. They were built.
The Walmarts, is all that stuff true?
I mean, what do you? I thought they were building FEMA camps for 20 years now.
Yeah. Alan, they've had those.
They can use anything if they throw a fence up around it, right?
Yeah. See, in America, they've had them built for 25 years that I'm aware of, and they've been fully staffed and up and running. They've got them there. So this place, he managed to get the approval to build the facility without putting any tenders or quotes. You know, normally they put a expression of interest in the paper, and then the public responds to it with their price that they could build, you know, with the government building stuff. But there was none of that. This is just given. He's got the approval to build, no council issues, nothing. Do you know what I mean? Not worrying about council permits. So it's 15 kilometres from Toowoomba. Now, the runway out there is a big runway that can take the A330s as well. It's a huge runway. So it's going to be built in 2 stages with 500 beds operational by the end of 2021 and a further 500 beds in the first quarter of 2022 by March. So that's March. So this is why they won't need those passports, because these will be up and running. It'll be 1,000 bed.
Wow.
So it'll be the Queensland, it'll be run by the Wagner Corporation, but the Queensland government will pay them. So they say separate self-contained style, cabin style accommodation with access to allow airflow and outside balconies. Project was announced on the 26th of August 21. Wagner Corporation is building a facility to meet the specifications and requirements for infected prevention and control set by the Queensland Government, who will operate the facility. The planning and approval process is progressing in liaison with key stakeholders, including the Toowoomba Regional Council. The facility will be based on the design of the Centre for National Resilience in Howard Springs, Darwin. That's the one I just showed you. Like, it was a miners' camp for the fly-in, fly-out workers. It's got a pool and all kinds of, it's got a rec room and stuff. So
Didn't you show that the other day on your channel?
yeah, briefly. Yeah. So yeah.
Hey, I want you to. I'm gonna keep this in reserve, but I am going to. Let's see. I want to share this screen. I want to give them one more chance. I want to catch people up because it's up to 16 people now, and I can tell by some of the comments at least 6 of them are new. So I just want to go over this dark winter one more time and then pick up your comments again in about 4 minutes.
And also, as Alan, sorry to interrupt, but we had these every time America does these exercises, they do the same thing in Australia, and Australia trains with them as well. And they have not only America, but they'll have Singapore, Taiwan, whole heap of countries will get together and come to Australia and do the same exercise. So I'll be listening to.
Yeah, things right
Thanks.
now, keep that in mind. Everybody keep that in mind. With Australia and China, and Australia becoming a nuclear power in the ocean, possibly.
Yeah.
Let's go. We're going to hear about 4 minutes of this.
People as possible, and they discuss whether it should be mandatory versus voluntary. And it also outlines in this dark winter exercise how the judicial decisions that indicate forcible inoculation and quarantine of infected patients might be constitutional after all. And where have we heard this before? You guys might be familiar with one of the interviews with Alan Dershowitz, who talked about this exact thing, and he is a constitutional lawyer of all things. The irony. And he has been touted as being such a wonderful protector of individual liberties and rights, being a constitutional lawyer. But here he can be heard saying that we don't have a right not to get the secret sauce, and that if needed, doctors can come and hold us down and plunge a needle into our arms.
Let me put it very clearly. You have no constitutional right to endanger the public and spread a disease, even if you disagree. You have no right not to be vaccinated. You have no right not to wear a mask. You have no right to open up your business.
Wait, can I stop you?
Yeah.
No right not to be vaccinated, meaning if they decide you have to be vaccinated, we have
That's
to.
correct. Yep.
Absolutely. And if you refuse to be vaccinated, the state has the power to literally take you to a doctor's office and plunge a needle into your arm. If the vaccination
Where is that in the Constitution?
So in Operation Dark Winter, they talk about how it will somehow be constitutional, even though they don't explain how, to forcibly inject people with this secret sauce. And then we have Alan Dershowitz, they could easily have people like the National Guard come in if they were truly experiencing.
That's the only part I wanted to add to, is that it's not as easy as she thinks. That's her weakest argument, because if you remove the National Guard, you slow down the production at the places the National Guardsmen work.
That's right. Yeah.
The time. So I'm going to turn the sound off here. That was a quick reminder. As you can tell by the accent, this is Ella from Earth's History Was Confusing. She's in Australia. She's a content provider. She's probably going to be like Sarah from Hacking the Headlines. And that's who we were just listening to. So this really did happen, I guess. They weren't kidding, Ella.
Yeah, no, it has happened. You can have a look at there's like your flight tracker where you look at the planes. You can go to one where you can look at the ships, and it's not just there, it's all over the world. It's creating a shortage on containers to, continue the movement of products. And as I said, the workforce has been halved to 30%. So there's no one to unload them. They've got a huge problem. No one to unload them. They've got no drivers. So it's going to continue backing up. It's all been planned, so to speak. So, I was just looking at the quadrilateral security dialogue, but these are the photos of what they're building. So that's it there. Another one there. And then the next one I was looking at.
What is that again? It looks like a runway to me.
Yeah, there's a huge runway over here. It's massive. It can land A330s.
Oh,
so that
okay.
Yeah.
You did mention that.
Yeah. So this will all be, soon it'll all be full. But the other one I wanted to share was, I'll have to do another share screen, won't I?
We could probably, do you think that it's even smaller than Auschwitz.
Yeah, but there's more on the other side, I think. I think they're only just showing one side of it.
Okay.
Because it's a big place. Yeah, it's a big place out there. You can have a look on Google Earth. I'll put the location in my community tabs later for you. But I just want to share with you quickly too, Alan. I'll stop this one and then share this other one. It's talking about those exercises.
The what?
These ones. So they have a strategic alliance between United States, India, Japan, Australia. It's maintained by talks.
There's the new one, the Quad. It's the
Yeah. Yeah. And then we got US, UK one as well that's just happened as well. So it was initiated in 2007 by Prime Minister Shinzo Abe with the support of US Vice President Dick Cheney, Australian Prime Minister John Howard, Indian Prime Minister Mohammed Singh. Dialogue was paralleled by joint military exercise of an unprecedented scale titled Exercise Malabar, and they were huge. And they're still doing them every year. They do them. And then China goes and does their exercises as well. So, but it's all Darwin
Maybe
up.
here, Australia can bring one of their nuclear submarines.
Well, apparently they're not going to get them for a few years, and they have to pay out several $1 billion to France for ripping up the contract as well. It's created a huge problem. We're not going to get them straight away. The whole submarine has always been a fiasco because they had those Collins class subs, and they had nothing but problems with them in the 90s, early 2000s. I remember them. So they're talking about an Asian NATO.
Here's something just to put in the back of your mind. Have you heard that the United States just had a submarine get stuck right up there? It said it ran into something.
Yes, I have.
Now, put that into context. With a few years ago, we had
there was another one, and they were killed, weren't they?
It was the John Glenn, and then another one was an aircraft carrier, to where a Japanese oil tanker both of them had their computers taken over. I think they say they did, it was a malfunction. People, if we don't realize China can hack our shit and drive us, they drove that oil tanker into an aircraft carrier, hit the cabin that the captain was sleeping in, and killed him.
Same as
The ship.
same
And
as the
now-
airplanes.
And now they have a submarine that just hit an object and is basically dead in the water up there in the, right by China. It's like, we're not going to be able to defend ourselves. And we can't trust China that they're not going to attack anybody. They're going to wait 3 years before they attack anybody. Oh,
Yeah.
they're lying. They're just doing that to make us sweat more and think we have more time.
Yeah, well, time's really short, you know.
Go ahead.
There's-
I'm sorry I interrupted you again.
No, you're right. No, you're right. Time is very short. It's all been planned.
We got to separate because we're not going to die. That's the bad, it's the sad thing. We're not getting raptured for another 25 years.
Yeah, it's not good, mate. The whole world is just falling apart. There's no respect. There's no morals. It's everywhere you look. It's yeah. But so that it's still going on. They just finished one not long ago. They had one up near, I think it was Rockhampton. My mum got photos of ships and tanks and all kinds of stuff up there. So that was up in North Queensland. So they were doing them again this year. So they work with the US. So whenever US has them, we have them here too. So
Oh yeah, we're like Canada. We're like
Well-
the three amigos: Canada, the United States, and Australia. Always.
well, it says here Canada and United States got together and joined up. US and Canada held a joint naval exercise called Keen Sword in October, one of the several Canadian naval exercises in the Taiwan Straits that year, and accompanied by diplomatic meetings to Tokyo. Though no joint statement was produced from the meeting, with the meeting of the Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison to Tokyo, Australia and Japan agreed in principle to the defence pact that will be increased military ties. I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be done deliberately. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, they've got to keep the people in fear, keep that vibration low. That low hum.
Yeah. And the earth is low humming. There's people doing again that, they're hearing like deep echoes from the underground. I mean, we don't have any idea what's going on. I mean, we do. We thank God he's changed our lives. Let us have the Bible, something, our hope has not fully been seen, but it is real and it's written on our heart. My goodness, I don't know how they do it without the Bible, but they do.
Yeah. But if this happens, one country will get dragged in. It'll just be everyone will get dragged in because of all these agreements they've got.
Now, let's go ahead. It is all a plan, but this is real life. What the plan is to hide the fact that the mafia and crime is running the world and that the elections are all fake and that we've been brought into our slavery. But that's real. That's where we are today. So even though they do a bunch of the hoaxing and fake the nuclear weapons, doesn't mean that the commissions of the mafias aren't muscling that there isn't genocide and things like that. They're killing people.
Yeah.
People are getting rubbed out.
There were millions upon millions of people killed in China. The girls in the 70s, 80s, 90s until sort of early 2000s. They had the one-child policy. They wanted the boys. Millions of girls were killed alive. They were just thrown and abandoned, or they would have their organs harvested. That's been going on for a long time too. That makes my skin crawl, that one. It's
It makes my
horrible.
crawl, and I'm thinking of I'm thinking of the actual symbolism almost of when they left Egypt, they were killing all of the men, and nobody cared, and that's always bothered me that they were aborting all the men, and now it seems like, you know, with China and everything else, the focus was that they were aborting so much because they wanted, you know, men, not women, and so now it's flipped, and you know it seems nobody had no outrage when it was only boys or mostly boys, and nobody has that out. You know, they have some outrage, but you know, it looks like the let's win in court, the abortion argument has ended it. But now, you know,
Yeah.
they're just saying in China, you know, we'd rather have a boy. I mean, and what do? I mean, do people sit around at home stressing, well, for sure, I only want one child, and that I'm doing the world a favor. Should it be a boy or a girl?
They've actually raised them to 3-child now, but they've got a problem. See, they thought the population would rush out and have heaps of children when the limits were lifted, but no, they're not having any more than one child because they can't afford it. They can't afford a house. Why would they have 3 children? You know, so even though they've lifted the amount of children they can have, the population is not growing. It's actually getting older, and they got a huge problem. I think it's like 3 to 6 or something. It's just horrible ratios. They're building nursing homes everywhere in China because the ones of Mao, the children of Mao, have all aged, and then you got their children, but the children from the generation where they killed those babies have seen what's going on now that the world has been opened up. They can see, and they lay flat. They don't want to be a part of that society. They don't want to participate in that society, you know?
I don't see
Yeah.
how, you know, what if they left them? They've only left them room to be participating in let's get drunk and watch sports so we can gamble on it because the mafia is running out of ways to, you know, their deal is a religion too. They made vows and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, now they're scrambling to pay off all of their pensions and stuff too.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, it's not easy being in the mob.
I'm waiting to see like that big company in China that's owned by their government almost collapsed the other day. It's on the verge of collapsing, that big developing company. And if that goes, the whole stock market there is going to crash, and that's just going to have a huge knock-on effect around the world. That's when we're really going to see a food shortage and everything like that. Food shortages are coming, you know. They haven't been growing and doing the stuff that they should be doing like they used to. The people aren't there, you know. It's not like it used to be. People think it's going to go back to normal, you know, just wait 2 weeks and it'll go back to normal. I'm sorry, that life you knew will never exist again. I'm sorry. It'll never come back, you know. It's now.
Doesn't China look thoroughly like the United States and Australia?
It does.
I mean, what's
It
the
does.
difference?
They even went to Australia to get help on how to build nursing homes and how we have our nursing homes. They actually approached our government for help on designs and things like that, like what we do on policies. See, they all talk, they're all one government behind closed doors. They all have the same set of laws. I've looked at it, you know, like they're going on about Australia's data laws where they can change your social media page and that, but the Netherlands bought something like that in 2014. And then there was another country that done it. Italy done it in 2016. There are other countries all around the world. They're bringing in the same laws, exact same laws everywhere, you know. And the children, I feel, of China will be used as the United Nations. They'll pay the debt back by being the henchmen. See, it used to be the Swiss Army. They used to be the army for hire. But then it became the United States. The United States used to go and do all the the army for hire, but it looks like China will be the next army for hire. They'll start
It looks
training
like
them up.
China's going through the same thing they just went through in New Orleans. God is judging the world,
They
and
have
everybody's going like,
been,
wait a minute, this was supposed to be an easy.
they have been in,
Or is this part of their warfare against each other? They can control the
be.
weather, so they do it over other countries as a Cold War attack instead of saying
Could
we're
be.
not doing it with bullets, we're doing it with buckets of water.
Could be.
But
For
this
the
is
last,
God doing it. It's God doing it.
yeah, God punish you. For the last 8 months, they have been flooded everywhere. 8 months, mate, is a long time. I've had dreams of that dam busting and, you know, hearing 700,000 to 1 million people missing, dead. I've had nightmares of some horrible, horrific things. That dam is also buckled. They took photos of it from satellites, and it buckled from when it was first built to, you know, when it was full last year, and then again this year. They take photos, and it's moving a couple of centimeters, so it's
You're
pretty
talking
scary.
about the Three Gorges Dam.
Yeah,
I've also seen that, and it's like,
yeah.
yeah, that thing's not long for the world, people. That Yangtze River is going to break free.
And see, when they built that dam, it actually slowed the Earth rotation, whatever you want to call it. It slowed it down. And also, when they built the huge dam in Egypt, that slowed the Earth's rotation. So,
Well, I know that that's what they say. You know, all that talk about rotation is that
that's what I said.
just
Whatever it
talking.
is, yeah,
Whatever
yeah.
they're doing is they don't understand what they're doing or saying.
They're messing with
Look
the
at
Earth.
the circular rays on that shot. That's you
Beautiful,
can tell
isn't it?
that looks pretty cool.
But yeah, for the last 8 months, they've been just non-stop. They have had water everywhere. Non-stop. Every time I look online, it's just new, more flooding, more flooding. Yeah, but no, last few days I've just been spending time with my dad. I've been praying
Man,
for
look
him.
at
They had to pull down a
big
huge
statue.
statue in China because it was offensive. But I told you they got given Bibles. That's a good thing there. They finally let them have Bibles now. They never used to do that, but now they're allowed to. So
Wow.
I like looking at other cultures' history. I enjoy it, you know.
They're just a regular people.
Yeah, I don't hate anyone. Hate is a nasty word. No one really wants to hurt another human. It's no one really wants to. But at the end of the day, you know, they just want to go about their lives and live their lives. It's been great talking to you, mate. I'm gonna have to head off.
You
And
take care, Joel. Anything? Joel's dropped off. So, everybody, I want to thank Ella. I want to thank you for tuning in. This was a chance to get to
thanks
see
for
that
having me.
wonderful video. And
Yeah,
can't wait to see what when I go to bed tonight. I'll hope to wake up to some good things the Lord has brought to us from you. Thank you,
yeah.
Ella from Australia. Appreciate it
I've
so
been
much.
looking into all the mercury and how mercury powers in the old systems of mercury so I'm going to continue that and share that. So yeah, Dad's been helping me a bit. So yeah.
Well, thank
All
you
right.
for jumping on. I really appreciate it. Any last words?
No, just raise your vibrations and have your full armor of God. You know, just pray and raise your vibrations. Pray for all those people that have been hurt out there. Don't call them stupid or idiots or say it's their own darn fault. They're in a level of fear they don't understand. We think differently. Just don't judge them, help them. Yeah. So,
All right.
bye, everyone.
It's
I
a
hope you
flat
all have
earth
a good day.
nation. You know, we're never going to tell you anything else. Why would we? We're trying to prove we have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho.
Bye.